Andrei Botez Chitic is a London-based edit assistant and picture shop, an award-winning post-production house with years of experience in editing. Coming from Romania, young Andrei moved to London with his family, seeking a better life. After overcoming multiple difficulties, they settled, and Andrei has been living in London since then. Growing up, he faced multiple obstacles at school, but those didn't deter him from pursuing his passion for art. Studying film at university in London, he focused on improving his editing skills and edited 2 final short films. Despite the global pandemic that impacted his entry into the industry, he managed to land a job in an editing house where he became a proficient edit assistant. After that, he joined his current position, where he sees his career progressing and continues helping others with editing. Listen to this episode to get inspired by Andrei's struggles while growing up. Hear how he edited 2 final year university projects on a tight schedule and learn some terminology behind editing. Enjoy! Hello Andrei, welcome to the show and thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Can you please try to introduce yourself for the beginning?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Andrei. I'm 24 years old, living in London currently. I am from Romania originally, and I moved here when I was 12, but I also came prior when I was 10 years old, and then I left back to Romania and come back when I was 12, and I lived in London since then, and I'm not looking to go back anytime soon.
Not looking?
Not looking, no. I think I'm happy here in this country and the opportunities it gives you compared to Romania, where I felt a bit put to the side. Whereas here, I think my qualities in general just got discovered, So I feel like I want to give to this country what they gave to me, basically.
Out of curiosity, were you from capital city in Romania?
No, I'm further away, close to Moldova. It's a very small city. It's called Vaslui. Not many people know about it, but it's very close by the end of the Romanian and Moldovan border. I'm half Romanian, I can say that, and I'm half Moldovan.
Something unique. I think I've never met anyone from Moldova. I know that you're not from there, but not even half.
Yeah. Very close to it. You can drive there, like it takes an hour and a half. You can go to Moldova. So yeah, I'm very close.
So why did you move to London in the first place?
Well, first instance, it was my parents that wanted to just give themselves and myself and my brother a better life. And it kind of didn't work out for the first year when I came here at 10. It just didn't. We stayed here for a year. Things were crumbling and my dad decided to go back. And so we went back to Romania, stayed there for 2 more years. And then my dad decided, you know what, we can't do anything in this country. There's no opportunities out there for himself, for my mom, myself, and my brother. And then he decided, let's all move back to UK, to London. So we moved back. First few years were a bit hard because, I speak for myself, not for my family, but for myself, because I had to go to school when I started in year 9. My English, even back then when I was 10 years old, wasn't very good. I was just getting the grasp of it. When I came here again, wasn't very good. It was hard to communicate with the people, with the kids. And most kids, at 12 years old, they'll make fun of you because that's what kids do, Make fun of your accent, make fun that you can't speak English, you make fun of... I was also very skinny and insecure and shy. Yeah, I was being bullied and stuff, so it was hard for the first few years. I kind of wanted to go back to Romania because of that. But, as I grew up, my English improved quite a lot. I had teachers to help me out. I made some friends, some close friends that I'm able to even talk to this day. They also helped me improve my English, went to college, uni, all this stuff, side jobs. And that contributed in my development. I became less shy. I became more confident in speaking and, just overcame all the issues I had at the beginning. Yeah, I am where I am now just because I think I also wanted to change and, I also had the help. It came at some point after the first few years.
Yeah. And now there's quite a few people from Romania in London, right? Or at least that's my impression.
Yeah, there are. There's good Romanians, bad Romanians. UK is like one of those places where Romanians get to come. UK and I think Italy are like the main countries that Romanians go to.
Is there a
But
specific reason?
Italy is because Italian kind of sounds similar to Romanian and it's easier to learn than English. And most Romanians like decide to go there. Whereas with UK, obviously English, I wouldn't say is like the hardest language to learn, but again, gives you opportunities. You know, if you have a cousin that's already here, you tend to bring your other family members.
Yeah.
You know, if you have other friends and family members, you bring them as well. It's like a tendency like that. But yeah, I think it's mainly the opportunities that this countries offer.
I feel like I noticed that both when I meet someone and they say they're from Romania, or often see like shops Romanian. You know, you get like these stores with food
Yeah.
or something, and it often says Romania. So it's just
Yeah, like it's very known that Romanians like this country, and like I said, there's good Romanians. You know, it's lovely to find those Romanians in UK.
yeah.
There's also the bad Romanians. Like sometimes I would be up on the street and I would see them like screaming and shouting, and I just feel ashamed when I see that. But you know, I tend to like not align myself with those type of people. You know, I tend to look at the good positives about Romanians.
Yeah, but I have to say that it's probably about all the nationalities that you find both good.
Yeah, it's not specific to Romanians. I think because there were like some documentaries on Channel 4 made, I think it was called The Romanians in the UK, or Romanians Are Coming, off about the name of it. And it was like a 4-episode show about Romanians in the UK. We were very televised about it, yeah. And it showed some Romanians that were doing good things, but mostly were like Romanians that were doing bad things.
Yeah.
The way they beg on the streets, the way they were sleeping on the streets, they were stealing and stuff. You know, sometimes it saddens me that we have to be portrayed in such a way. But, you know, there's other people that still think that Romania still do good things, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So how was it with your education? You studied film, right? So how did you get there?
Yeah, I have to go back to my time in Romania. That's where I obviously went to school first. In Romania, there's such structure that you just do the basic subjects like maths, Romanian, some English, some French, science and stuff. But there's nothing really that creative as a subject aside from art. Only like subject I used to like was actually art, just drawing stuff. I just thought it was fun. It wasn't anything like mathematics where you had to like add, multiply, you know. It wasn't like English where you had to write or read, same for Romanian, you know, all those like subjects. But yeah, like in Romania, they never teach this type of artistic subjects aside from art. So that, you know, just start like drawing stuff, that's the only thing
Yeah.
we're doing. And then I came to the UK the first time or second time. Obviously in schools here, you do more artsy stuff. You do play with Lego. You learn how to make proper stuff from Lego. You use I don't know how it's called, the Play-Doh thing as well to make characters.
Yes, I know
Yeah.
what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And many other stuffs. Like they give you computer in school to play with softwares like iMovie, Premiere Pro, you know, stuff like this. But I never kind of done like anything to do with film in school per se. I've done everything that has to do with film in my own time. Even when I came the second time in London, I went to school in year 9 and then I finished year 11. I've only done serious subjects like business or health and social care, maths, English, science, those type of subjects. And then I went to college and I pursued to do business instead of for a creative subject. And that was mainly due to my parents, I think. It wasn't primarily that I liked business. In fact, I actually didn't enjoy it very much. And then it was my time to apply for uni. So I was having this argument with one of my friends. I kept telling her how I like to do YouTube videos because I was doing in my spare time some like little YouTube videos, quite bad ones.
What was it about?
At first, it was about me making. I don't know how to describe it. It was
it like this type of videos, like I don't know, putting ice cream on your face or something?
Something like that, yeah. Like I would do gaming videos. You know, I would record myself playing FIFA, and reacting to my gameplay stuff. And it was quite cringe, like it wasn't
still online?
No, it's on private. I keep to go back and watch and see where I started and where I'm now. But then I do watch them sometimes where I feel in a bad mood and I say, I look at them and say, okay, this is where I started, this is where I'm now, and that kind of motivates me to keep moving forward. When I kind of show them to people when I'm a bit drunk, there's two ways to make YouTube videos and stuff, and they're quite bad, so I show them with those times, and people tend to laugh, and I don't mind. I know they're bad, and I say it's bad. Like,
did you nothing audience?
Yes, I had an audience, a small one, but I had one instance or two instances where I had people recognizing me on the street, and my channel wasn't big. It was like 200 subscribers, 200 something subscribers. So like two people like saying hi to me on the street was like, what? Really? Although like my content was quite bad. Yeah, it was something. And yeah, I was arguing with my friend. I said to her, like, that's what makes me happy to create videos, to edit, primarily editing and not necessarily filming. I said, my parents want me to go to uni with business, a business subject. But yeah, I wasn't really happy about it. And she kind of opened my eyes, and she kind of drove me to apply for doing BA film at Middlesex University. Yeah, I go to uni. I was a bit anxious. I wasn't gonna get into it because I think the first requirement was for me to write to talk about film in a Word document and like explain it and stuff. And I've never done that before. I just wrote what I thought was needed and I submitted the Word document. And yeah, in the end, I got into the uni. And I think my uni years gave me a lot of stuff that I use even now, even today.
And was there a specific reason why we chose Middlesex?
To be honest, yes and no. Like, I chose Middlesex University and I also chose London South Bank. Both came to me. Funnily enough, I only went to the open day for Middlesex University out of the two. Not because I couldn't be bothered to go to the other one. It's just I wasn't able to. But then I came to the Middlesex on the opening day. And I remember seeing the lecturers, how they presented the course and stuff. And I saw some people that also were there. I really liked the environment. I felt like I was home. I felt like this is where I belong. Keeping in mind, when I was in college and doing business, I barely felt like home because I was the youngest guy in my course doing business. And then I was 16 and people were like 20-something years old. And they were treating me like a kid. And, we didn't really have stuff to talk about. So I felt that I didn't really belong in college where I was studying business. Whereas in Middlesex, the first day I came, I thought I can click with that person and that person and I feel safe here. And that's what kind of made me choose Middlesex University over anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. So how did you find studying at Middlesex?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, when I applied to do film as a course, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. The only thing I knew, and that's the only thought that stayed with me until the end, was that I want to focus on editing.
So you knew already when you joined?
Yeah. Like there were people in the first year that were like, I kind of want to do editing, but I want to try directing, I want to try producing, I want to try something else, see how it works. Whereas with me, I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to focus on editing and nothing else. I kind of knew how to use like software to a basic level and stuff, but I wanted to get to know even more. And for me, learning cameras was useful, but wasn't my main focus per se. And even till today, I don't think I'm a good camera operator or a good boom operator, roles that you have in the film TV industry. But I think I'm competent when it comes to like using the editing softwares and editing in general.
Yeah, it sounds good to me that you knew from the first year, so you could, focus on it for the whole 3 years, and at the end of third year, you'll probably be proper skilled. Whereas some people, if you don't know in the first year, maybe you don't know even in the second one, then you kind of have only the last year to develop those skills for the role that you want to develop.
Yeah, exactly. Like the first software that I ever learned editing was Camtasia Studio. It's like a software that you record your screen on computer. It also has integrated like some editing features. Then after that, when I came to Middlesex in my first year, I learned Final Cut Pro and started editing on that for the first part of my first year. And then I've seen that many people use Premiere Pro as a standard in uni. So yeah, I decided to stick with that until the third year and get more competent in Premiere Pro. And then alongside that, I decided to also learn a bit of After Effects, a bit of Photoshop, a bit of DaVinci. That's the thing. I like learning new softwares and I like to know a bit of everything. Obviously, I'm not perfect maybe at DaVinci or After Effects, but as long as I know the basics, I can get my way around it. And if anything, I can always research more and improve more on those softwares. It's about your creativity, I think, at the end of the day.
So what, in your opinion, is the best software for editing?
At the moment, because my work revolves around Avid Media Composer, I think that's the software that I enjoyed the most. It wasn't the case when I was in uni. I really hated Avid.
Yeah, I'm never.
Yeah.
I know why I never really knew how to use it and I didn't really like it.
Yeah. Like when you see it for the first time, it's not very intuitive. Coming from Premiere Pro to Avid, it's like, really? It's not very good. But, being at work and I was forced to use Avid, otherwise I wouldn't have the work I have now. I seen the good sides of Avid compared to the bad sides. I say it's a good software compared to the others because one, if it's running quite slow, you can do certain things to it to make it run faster. You have to be quite technical to do that, but it's possible to do it. I think it's easier to edit. Like the workflow that Avid has, it's a lot more easier than let's say Premiere Pro. Yes, Premiere Pro gives you a bit more freedom in certain areas, but in Avid you can stay more organized and it's better for things like creating films. Not as much as YouTube, really. For YouTube videos, I would still prefer Premiere Pro, although the YouTube channel that I have now, I'm using Avid because I want to get more confident with editing Avid. But yeah, sometimes with the softwares, it also depends on what you can use it for. Like I said a minute ago, Avid, I would use it for proper stuff, film, TV shows, whereas Premiere Pro for YouTube, social media, After Effects, you can use it for both instances, to be honest, creating effects and motion graphics. So yeah.
And I guess is Avid like Adobe in that sense that it has also other types of software, so it's like easier to work between those, or how does Avid work?
As far as I know, they only have Pro Tools. They might have something else, but I can't remember. But Pro Tools is like the audio software.
Oh yeah, I remember that one from university. Yeah.
So like, especially at work, like let's say we have like a TV show that needs to go into the audio department. You're gonna create we call it finishing. We do certain elements, files, creating AFs, which then go to the audio people. And that transition is quite easy because the AF that you create in Avid is instantly going to be known by Pro Tools, I think effects, transition over and stuff. So yeah, it's quite good in that sense. There's also a good workflow between Avid and DaVinci Resolve. You can also go that round and transfer sequence from Avid to DaVinci and back and forth when you want to edit or maybe do some color, do some conform, like bringing the picture back to the original source image and stuff.
Is DaVinci the one from Blackmagic?
Yes, it is there's a free version, DaVinci, which pretty much has everything you basically need. For more heavy stuff like TV or film production, I want to use the paid version. They have better tools in the paid version, but the free version is already as powerful as it is. For someone at home, that's already a very good software.
And if I'm not wrong, is Final Cut from Apple?
Final Cut, yeah, is from Apple. Yeah, you pay just once, I think, nearly £200, which is obviously expensive, but so you have it forever. And yeah, that's yours. And obviously, Premiere Pro and After Effects are made by Adobe, which is, I think, the most popular out of the bunch for like people in general.
And but you pay like each year, don't you?
For Adobe?
Yes.
Yeah. I think they have different type of subscriptions, which is good, especially for students. You have to pay monthly, first of all. I think they might have like a one payment for a year, and then you use it for the year, and you renew it again and again. But they have this deal with students where the students pay, I think, £16 a month and they get all the softwares. And if you're a student for 3, 4, 5 years, and you actually getting the most out of the softwares, then I think it's worth it. And that's what I've done when I was in uni. I paid £16 per month for all the softwares and tried to get to know the most out of them in my spare time, even at uni, even doing the projects I was doing and stuff.
Yeah, I remember that at uni it was great that one thing is that you had this software, and also I felt that they had great equipment, like great Macs and the machines there. That was really good.
Yeah, I remember when I got introduced into those editing suites, it was something that was new. Like I was like, wow, it feels like I'm in an actual production.
Yeah.
I used to take a lot of pictures, like, oh, look at me, this editing suite and stuff. It was fun, very enjoyable. Yeah, I never got to use the grading suite though, because I'm not too much into grading, but I've seen it. And I know my other colleagues that were into grading use it a lot, and they can get you quite good results if you know what you're doing. And at work, I have those panels as well that I've seen. I have this legendary colorist, Aidan Farrell, his name is.
Working in your company?
Working in my company, yeah. He's been, I think, a BAFTA nominated and a winner as well. Aidan Farrell, yeah. And I've seen how he works. He's like a DJ, like how he uses the panels. Now he's very fast at working.
I need to have a look. I haven't heard of it.
Yeah. He's been working on some project. I can't remember now, but he's quite a big guy in the industry. There's many clients that come to our company just because of him.
I was wondering if there was like someone who wanted to become editor, what software would you recommend to beginner?
For a beginner, to be honest, you can use any software. There's so many softwares out there that I don't even know the names of. For myself, it was Camtasia. And when I said to people, I've been using Camtasia, they were like, what's that?
I was thinking the same. I've never heard of it.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of softwares out there. You can use anything you feel comfortable with. But, if you want something that it's easy and you don't want to search too much about it, you can use DaVinci Resolve because it's free. Gives you all the tools you need to create good edits, to give good color to edit, to even work with sound and do some VFX as well. It has a very powerful VFX system integrated in DaVinci. And you can use Premiere Pro. You can pay for it, or I come from a country where you pirate a lot of the software, which is not ideal, but like if you want to learn something, I'm always for pirate it, but when you get to a point where you can afford to pay for it. Because there's a lot of poor people out there that can't afford to pay for stuff. You kind of have to understand that aspect of life. But yeah, Premiere Pro, DaVinci, any software that you have already, just get comfortable cutting. It's not really about the software usually. It's more about your ideas, your creativity. So as long as you have that into place, the software are just something that you learn, really.
Yeah, I think it's a good advice. I agree with that. When you were at university, what was the final project of your uni? Was it editing some short film in the end?
Yes, I don't know if I'm the only one or not, but I've edited 2 films in my last year. And it was a challenge. Both films were different in style, very different.
Was it because there was a shortage, or because you are so good that people wanted to work with you, or what was the reason?
I'll come back to the shortage and to me being good or not. But I wanted to do it first of all, because like I said before, my main focus was editing. So I didn't want to be a DOP and mess someone else's project because my filming wasn't good. I didn't want to do sound and mess up the sound because I wasn't interested in it. I just wanted to do something that I knew I liked. I knew that I could do well to a degree where people would be happy with me in their team. That's the thing. An editor needs to be good at managing time on the projects. I do think that third year was very well organized from our side. One project was an experimental film made with me and another colleague of mine, Maxime, his name was. A film that we've done with just stock footage, stock archive footage from the online. We downloaded stuff that we can use copyright free. And we basically made film about synchronicity and how things fall into place, and nothing is by chance. Everything is meant to be how it is. And that film was a success for not as a university project because it was very, the course we were doing wasn't very based on experimental. It was more based on like doing the films that you can watch at the cinema. This experimental film was something more like a piece of art that you'd have in like museum. That's it. But it was a success. Like people really liked it, even in uni. But where the success came from was all the festivals. He went to Bethlehem. Didn't want anything, but the fact that he got selected, and he went to another festival, which I forgot exactly where. But I know he went to 2 festivals and he was showcased there. And then he was showcased at an exhibition in London as well, like 1 or 2 years ago, which was also good. And this film was inspired by this guy called Carl Jung.
Just a quick one. If you enjoy our podcast, please give us a review on your favorite podcast app, subscribe or share it with your friends. For more information, visit the show notes. Thank you, and back to the show.
There was this other guy, filmmaker, I forgot his name entirely. I think he was Polish, that my director got into contact with and basically sent him the film. He's a very big filmmaker in this experimental side of filmmaking. And this guy replied to him and they gave his praise about the film. I felt proud of it. And the same for the director, Maxim, I felt proud of it. So, yeah, it's there. That's the fun work that I'll show to people. I feel proud of my work. I'm really proud of what we achieved.
And out of curiosity, why did you decide for experimental film?
Yeah, I'm not a guy that usually is associated with experimental. It was out of my comfort zone and still is. But that was the main reason, like when Maxim came to me and approached me and told me the idea about it. And I do kind of believe in the spiritual things that things happen for a reason. The synchronicity in life stuff. The fact that, I'm doing this podcast now was meant to happen. It's just I wanted to do something that I've never done before. And it was obviously a challenge, like getting like hundreds and hundreds of archive footage, black and white archive from the online and making something out of it to make sense was obviously not easy. And first part of third year was me spending time in the editing suite with Maxime, cutting out this film. And we only finished it, I think. So we started, I think, in November 2018. And I think we finished the film in April, I want to say, 2019. We obviously spent a few months working on it and trying new things and cutting out bits, putting back bits and stuff. And yeah, I'm really proud of what we both achieved. And yeah, it's also like helped me connect more with this Maxim guy. We're very close friends.
And how long was it in the end? Was it 10 minutes, 20 minutes?
15 minutes experimental film of archive footage.
How hard was it to find enough of footage that you can use for free?
It wasn't really hard finding the footage, but one of our lecturers gave us a website we can download archive that's free to use. The hard bit was what to download and what to include. Not everything we downloaded was included in I have my hard drive, and if I were to look for it, I have hundreds and hundreds of archive, hundreds of hours to look at that me and Maxim were there looking at. And we tried bits and pieces. We was like, okay, this can go with this and that and that. And we experimented. That's why it's called an experimental film. We tried different bits and pieces. And that film, me and Maxim always said, we can work on that film forever and we can still find new meanings there. We decided to stop because we had to. But yeah, we got to a state where we were both happy.
Yep, that sounds interesting and good project, yeah. How was the second one?
Yeah, the second one. So I think I had myself 1 week break from finishing my first film to go into the next. And my second film was more like a dry comedy, very different than experimental film. The film was called Frog in a Glass Horse. I was...
I remember
it. Yeah, I think you worked on it as well?
I was there like one day helping build a set.
Right, yeah.
It was like just a little work, but I remember like people speaking about it because it had quite a big budget and interesting.
It did. It was a big project, and I didn't want to disappoint the people, the director and producer and the whole team. Like, there was a lot of work put into it, a lot of planning, a lot of people helping with the set design of the actors. It was a project that, I felt the pressure of, I wanted to have something good to show. I think it was budgeted by this chef as well, which was quite big as well. So yeah, I went into seeing the rushes and stuff. Me and this guy Ewan edited the film together, the day in, day out, until we got to be honest, we had to show the film at the BFI at some point, and the film still wasn't finished. It was so big. I think it got finished after we finished uni. When it got finished, I wasn't even working for it anymore because I had to do other things, but I know Ewan still didn't finish the rest. But yeah, it was like a collaboration of editing there. I think I've edited the second half and you edited the first half. There was a lot of VFX included into that, and that was the most challenging thing.
Really?
Yeah, like
Did you do VFX or who did it?
both of us we did VFX. But yeah, it was a combination. Like I remember there was an instance where, on set you couldn't break the windows on the door, the glass, So you had to add that into like the post-production into VFX. I never done it before. And I remember I stayed for like a day and a bit to figure out how am I going to do this because I've never done it before. I had to add spray paint on the walls. I had to make it look like the place is devastated where the place was actually not. So I had to experiment a lot with effects and look a lot on the tutorials on YouTube and ask me some help from you and stuff. And, but in the end, we got to a product that we felt satisfied. There was a lot of VFX that went into that. Can't even pinpoint. There's probably points in that film that I can't even pinpoint what's VFX or not. So some VFX looks like, well, it was there, and some is like, it's nice, we can see it's there, but it's nicely done. But it was a very challenging project, and I remember the day before our deadline, I was very sick. I couldn't get out of bed, but I remember I had finished the film, and I couldn't let Ewan do all the work by himself and do Saturday. So I remember, I just dragged myself out of bed. I came to uni in the editing suites, and I started editing the last bits of the film, or do the polishing bits. And then we submitted it at 11 o'clock, I think, at night. And everyone was happy. I was dead, I was proper dead. But, it was worth it, I think. Even though the film wasn't finished, like I said, until proper a few months after now. But I'm still proud of it.
Did you also go to festivals with that film?
I think that film didn't go to many festivals. I think it got selected to get showcased at the BFI, which we won, I believe, the Design Award and Best Directing and Producing Award, which was still good, for proud for the team and stuff. I can't lie, I kind of wanted the film to win editing as well, but it wasn't possible. There were probably other films there that the people thought were better edited. As long as the film still won some awards, I'm still happy for my contribution.
Because I remember when they were working on it, and the production value was proper big. Even all the props, they built a set, the way people spoke about it, the budget and everything, it was wow, this is big.
Max, the producer, he told me that he woke up every night 3 a.m. and went to Tesco to ask the boss for boxes. I think he's done that for a week, that he got a lot of boxes were used to help build the set. It was, there was a lot of effort put into it by everyone. So, when I was sick, I didn't want to stay in bed. I feel sick. I don't want to do anything. But I felt like I had to,
Yeah, sounds like a tough but a good experience.
It was very good experience. And I always kind of think about it. I want to go back and relive those experiences. Sometimes I think that I didn't live in the moment enough. And it's after you finish uni that you think, that was actually fun, and I'd like to do that again.
Yeah, I agree. And before we move from topic of university, can you maybe share some tips to people who are studying or want to study, how to, take advantage of that, or how to benefit from university as much as they can?
Well, so me going from college doing business to uni doing film, my parents were not happy, and many people probably feel like they need to satisfy their parents rather than themselves, which I don't think that should be the case. You should do whatever makes you happy. So yeah, do that. When you get into uni, I think it's important, and I probably haven't done that enough myself. I've always seen the importance of it, to socialize with people, to get to know more people, get your connections, because that colleague of yours that you think it's not cool, Might be one of those people that will go far into the industry, and because you haven't been his friend or you haven't tried to be his friend, you won't get far. So it's important to have connections, and not even with the people in your area, with people below you as well. I think it's important because, like if someone's below you doesn't mean he's less competent. The same goes if someone's above you. Everyone's like around the same age group, so like doesn't matter. You get to know those people as well, see their interests, get to do projects together and stuff, and socialize. Socializing, I think, is the most important part of going to uni. Obviously, don't like mess about and mess up your year and not go to the next. Yeah, cherish those moments with your peers, with your friends, with your colleagues. Make the most out of it, so that helps you later on in life. That's my main tip. As with the lectures, when I went to uni, I didn't really know any terminology. Didn't know what the DOP was, didn't know many other paths that you could do in filmmaking/TV. Uni gives you those terminologies, gives you that knowledge of what's film set like, what's a TV set like, what's expected of you, what's not expected of you. They're going to give you qualities that you need in the future, to be outspoken, to be reliable, stuff like this, I think uni helps you in those aspects.
Yeah, I can only agree. Great points. So how did you start planning your way into the industry? When you started thinking, how did you approach it, how it went?
Yeah, for me, getting into the industry was a bit tough at the beginning. I remember and that's maybe because of the COVID situation.
Oh, yeah.
It was out of my control, and that really frustrated me to the point where I got not really sick, but I got sick because of the stress on me. I saw my other peers that because they were slightly more advantageous than me, got into the industry before COVID, and thus, after COVID slightly finished, they could get back into it, whereas I didn't even have experience. So how can I, people are a bit more restrained to who they were going to hire. If they were going to hire someone, they would hire someone they worked with before.
So you didn't have a job before the COVID, or COVID kind of happened when you started looking for a job?
Yeah, so what happened, I finished uni. I was already having a job. I was working for Samsung, promoting their phones and stuff, which was a good job. I really liked it to a certain point, and then it didn't. And when I was working at Samsung, I was pushing to get into the advertisement side of Samsung, to create the production as well, or to create the videos. And I tried, I put myself out there many times, tried to be the best worker I can be so I can go into that other role and stuff. It got to the point where I got interview in 2019, by the end of the year, interviewed for that role to become a video editor for Samsung. And I didn't get that role, unfortunately, and that made me a bit sad because I was really wanting it, and I was doing a lot of work in my current role as well to make it happen and to deserve it. It didn't happen. 2020 came around. It's a new year, new opportunities. And then at the beginning of the year, obviously, COVID hit. So I was put on furlough at Samsung. I didn't work for a few months. And then they let me go in the summertime, I think in June. So I was like a kid in the heart for me, I didn't have a job in the industry. I didn't have a job at all. It was after COVID, I felt a bit desperate. Samsung was advertising another position for e-promoter, so promoting phones on the Samsung website, which I applied for that and got it. So I got a job at least so I can sustain myself. In the meantime, I was also searching for jobs that I could do in the industry, like post-production runner mainly. Fair to say no one would hire around that time. It was out of my control. I couldn't really change the fact that they would hire. And I didn't really want to get into the production side of things. Even there, people wouldn't hire. I wasn't dedicated to the production side, so I didn't want to do something I didn't really like. So yeah, I was continuing to do my Samsung job, and at the same time, I was starting to have a few projects there and then, film that I did the color of. Then there was this podcast I worked for, Press Pause Network. They got a podcast called Don't Get Offended. So I've edited for that few episodes, which was fun, just to keep myself going and, just edit something in the meantime. But yeah, there were points where I was doing the Samsung job, especially over the second lockdown, that made me very depressed. And I got some skin problems on my arms because of the stress. So I had to see doctors and GPs, use creams and medicines to recover. But, with the help of my partner at the time, which was very helpful to find me a job in the industry, she was looking for jobs at the same time as me. And I got to a point where I applied for post-production runner jobs after the second lockdown, as well as one job that definitely made me go into the industry. So one day I was at the gym. While I was resting after my sets, I was on LinkedIn and I saw this post-production company called Clear Cut Productions. They advertised a job for edit assistant, junior edit assistant. I had no idea what the title was about. I just thought like, oh, you need to know this and that. And fair to say, I didn't know anything. I said, let me apply. What's the word? I think a week later, I go call out, you want to come to an interview with us? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I went to the interview, and in the interview, they asked me all these questions that I had no idea about. And I either had to lie and say something that I didn't know, or had to be honest and say, look, I don't really know what you're talking about. So I chose the honesty way, and I was honest. I didn't know what this meant. I made some research about production itself. Like I knew what year they were established. I knew what projects they were doing, stuff like this, But when it came to the more technical side of the job, I didn't really know anything. But I think they really liked me because I was honest. I think that's what got me the job in the first place. And I think they liked the fact that although I didn't know the technical answers to their questions, I made my research about the company. And that's really important for someone that's applying in the industry to do your research. If you don't know something about a company, then how are you going to expect to get into that company? Those companies want you to kiss them in a sense, They want you to flatter them, That's what kind of done. Like I've told them what they wanted to hear. The technical side can always be learned, So like after that, I finished the interview, went home, was a bit anxious for the next few days. And then I got another call saying, can you come to like the second part of the interview? So I was like, yeah, that's cool, I'll come. The second part was them showing me the place, like the building, which was already a good sign. Like, why would you bother showing me the place? You don't have a plan with me. And then the last bit was like, they gave me like some questions on the paper to answer. I answered them. And then at the end, they put me in front of an Avid machine, like a computer. And it was like, they showed me what they were doing and they wanted me to repeat what they were doing. So they were see if I can remember. I've done it, or, I've remembered. It was an ingest job. Ingest refers to like when you want to put media into the project, you want to transcode them to like a low resolution. So I've done that. They didn't say anything. They obviously had to wait for a bit. They sent me home. They said, thank you for coming. Next day, I got a call. I was actually doing my driving lessons. I was driving.
So it's like a stressful period.
Yeah. So like I was driving with my teacher and I said to him before the lesson starts, I might expect a call from the job interview. Can I pick it? Can you take over the steering wheel if I receive the call? So I was actually driving at the time when I could hear my phone ring and I was like, can you please take the steering wheel? I need to answer. So my instructor took the steering wheel. He parked me while I was on the phone. Found it quite funny. But yeah, I got the call. The guy was like, hi, Andrei. We really like your interviews and we like to ask you if you want to join the company. I obviously said yes. And I hold my excitement on the phone. Like I didn't want to say, yes, I got the job. They said, oh, thank you very much. Like, and then when I go off the phone, I was so excited and stuff. And the driving instructor could see that. Yeah, that's how I got into the industry. And then when I actually got into the job itself, there was a lot of intense training about how to do a lot of stuff that I'd never done before, especially that, we had to use Avid. Until that point, I've never used Avid.
Was it working on a location or did you work from home?
At first, it was a mix. So obviously for the training, it was on location, but it was still that time where people were a bit afraid to come in to work and stuff. So it was me, this other guy that we trained together, and our trainer. We're different trainers because we have different people. They train us in different aspects of what a junior edit assistant does, so like the basics, like the bread and butter of assistants, like ingesting the media, doing exports to different specifications that the client would give you, doing finishings to give to the audio department, wherever. Those are like the basic stuff that we kind of learn. We trained for a month, and I remember I was doing a lot of mistakes, and it felt like I didn't really get it. It was so hard for me to get the grasp of things. And I kind of didn't feel depressed, but I felt like I'm not good enough, although that wasn't the case. It just, I think I was expecting maybe too much of myself, or I was actually doing okay. There's people that can do worse. But me being me, I wanted to be perfect, which is not always possible at the beginning. But time in that company went, I got more experience. I actually got selected to work on this project for Channel 4 called Content, Season 6. I was an editor assistant for that, so that gave me more, basically helped me improve on my skills. Like I did ingest better, I did exports better, I did finishing better without any mistakes whatsoever. I could do multitasking better as well. As an editor assistant, you have to multitask, you have to do this and you have to do that. Sometimes you feel like you're going to do 4 tasks at the same time. You need to know how to prioritize, Doing that project, that helped me improve. Because I improved, that got me to my second job, which is a bigger post-production company. Now I work for Picture Shop, also known as the Farm Group before, but they rebranded. And how we started doing it, I was still working at ClearCut, and a guy from the company messaged me on LinkedIn. He was the head of operations. So he asked me, do you want to join the company? Because I came across your profile and you seem like a good fit for us. So I researched about the company. It's like top 3 post-production houses in London. I had the interview with them. I applied for a job, had the interview with them. Obviously felt anxious like any interview. But the interview itself this time wasn't very technical. It was more about personal rather than anything else. Because I was expecting for them to ask me, how do you do this? How do you do that? But they had no questions about it. They asked me about me, my hobbies, how do I do at work, what I like, what I don't like, stuff like this. And I eventually got the job and I felt very happy. I felt sad for leaving ClearCut because it was my first post-production company and they will always have a special place in my heart for giving me the chance. Because before I was like even rejected for running position, ClearCut gave me the edit assistant job, which is above a running. So, I was sad in that aspect, but I was happy in the aspect that I can go to a bigger post-production house that has better workflows, has bigger clients. And in fact, we do have high-profile shows that you will see on TV or online. I'm very, very happy for that.
And how long you spent in that first company, in the ClearCut?
At ClearCut, I spent around 9 months. So in 9 months, from zero to where I got, I think I did a very good progress. Then after 9 months, now I'm in at Picture Shop for about 1 year and 2 months.
And after working in ClearCut, did you have editing experience that you still didn't feel too confident or comfortable when you came to the second company?
When it came to my second company, first of all, I had to adjust to the new workflows because different post-production houses have different ways of dealing with stuff. That was a challenge at first because although I knew how to do the basic stuffs, I had to adapt to the new way of doing, which was the tricky part. To forget what I was doing before and to learn how to do it now. And although it's the same, it's also quite different. And that took me about 4 months to get used to it and to be confident. I don't need to ask for help because usually you can ask for help. There's people that expect you not to know everything. That's completely fine. You're not a robot. I was still asking questions, but after 4 months of past, I felt that I was okay at Picture Shop and I knew how to do stuffs. And now, because I'm 1 year and 2 months into Picture Shop, I go to more of a senior position. So right now, obviously I'm still asking for help when I don't know something, but I go into that position where I take the leadership and I try to help people that have less experience. I try to be there for them. I try to be as helpful as I can, really. I try to coordinate my team. If I believe I'm the most senior person in the room and there's people that are less experienced, I'll try to manage the people as best as I can to make the work flow, basically.
And do you use the same software in the both companies?
Yeah, pretty much. Like every post-production company, I believe pretty much the bread and butter would be Avid Media Composer, DaVinci Resolve, and Adobe Encoder. You can convert clips, there's maybe certain cases where you might want to convert clips. We barely use Premiere Pro or After Effects.
Why is that? I thought it may be coincidence, but it seems like it's something that is being used in industry, in general.
Yeah, like it tends to be Avid, and I think that's because Avid was like the main software that was used for mainstream TV and film. And like if you have like old editors that have been using one software for like years and years, they wouldn't want to go to Premiere Pro.
Yeah, it makes
And
sense.
yeah, plus Premiere Pro has this name attached to it indirectly that it's more for like, YouTube and social media and stuff rather than films and TV shows where it obviously can be done. There's like, I think Deadpool was edited in Premiere Pro. So, there's some films that are made in Premiere Pro and stuff. And even our ClearCut, I think we had a project that was made in Premiere Pro, but like 90% of the time, it's Avid that these post-production companies would use. And I think it's important if the university gives you the opportunity to learn Avid, I think you should take it. Don't be like me and don't want you to learn all of it.
Yeah, I used to wonder what software would like these big companies or studios that are working on these Hollywood projects work on. And I think I read once somewhere that I would say Gone Girl from David Fincher that was edited on Premiere Pro. But besides that, I didn't really know. So at least I know now.
Yeah, I just think it's because, if you're used to something, you're going to want to stick with that something. And that's like a tendency in human nature, and you want to stick to what you know. Obviously, for me, it's not the case because I'm not as old as other people in the industry. So you kind of have to adapt to the environment. So yeah, Avid is a standard, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I think that's going to keep on growing. And Avid, the company itself, it's making the software better and better every year.
Yeah, and I think also like these days you've got so many resources online, like when it comes to YouTube tutorials or some courses, that you can basically learn anything. It's just about you.
Exactly. Even on YouTube, like there's not as many stuffs on YouTube, but there still are stuffs. Like even Avid themselves have their channel on YouTube where they give you tips and tricks on how to navigate through Media Composer. So that in itself, it's a good starting point. Obviously, if you want to go the route of buying a course, it's even better because you have structure. But, the software can always be learned either through courses, either through the actual work that you're doing.
And how's your level now with Avid? Do you feel like a pro?
Yeah, so at the moment, my level with Avid is more technical rather than creative. That's why for my YouTube channel, I want to edit more with Avid. But in terms of technicality with Avid, I think I'm in a point where I kind of know Avid to a good, excellent degree. I know how to navigate. If something goes wrong with it, I know what to look out for. There's some of it works, like something wouldn't work because maybe this application is open, and how you'd have to close that and make it work again. There's little bits and pieces like that I learned through experience, and me having only 2 years in the industry gave me that opportunity to have the experience, know what to look out for and stuff. Because that's my job. I have to deal with the clients, which always call us because their Avid might be slow. So, we want to do some stuff to make it faster. I also have to work myself on Avid to ingest. Right now, I'm doing some syncing and grouping of the footage. I'm also doing a bit of conform there and then. And, to do those stuff, you need to be competent in Avid. It's technicality mainly. But, like learning grouping and syncing and conforming has kind of helped me use more of the editing tools Avid offer, because when you do grouping and syncing or conforming, you get to use the cutting tool, you get to use the insert tool, lifting tool, those sort of tools I use for editing. That was really helpful. Yeah.
I think we'll need a little introduction of the terms that we are mentioning in case there's someone who doesn't know this.
Sure. I mean, ingesting, like I said before, it's when you basically put media into Avid. You link them in. It's not like Premiere Pro. In Premiere Pro, you link the media and you can start editing with them. Whereas in Avid, you link in the media, right? But the media itself, let's say it's a very high resolution, and the computer itself might not be able to run that resolution smoothly. Mm-hmm. So you basically want to create what's called proxies, or you want to transcode the clips and bring them to like a low resolution, like to a codec. Codec is like, it's hard to explain, but it's something in the middle of the clip that makes the software look at it and say that's easy to play, basically. So we transcode to something good that's playable by the software. Yeah. And then you have the other things, the exports, that's self-explanatory. You basically do exports for the productions to see, and you might be given a spec list. You need to do this frame size, this resolution, this bitrate. It's very technical, but something that can be but very not hard at all. Whereas with finishing, it's a lot more complex where you have to create more elements. You have to, depending on the company, 6, 7 elements you typically give to the audio department or color department to do their stuffs, to color or to do the audio, to fix the audio and stuff. Ripping and syncing, that's also quite self-explanatory. You just basically take the video source and the audio source and match them together. So you can obviously have the good sound of the boom mic synchronized with the actual video. And the quiniforming bit is the more advanced task that someone will do. That's basically getting the low resolution sequence that the editor has been working on and basically bringing that back up to the high resolution. So that image that you see on TV, that's basically the conform stage in a way, it's a high picture. There's more to it, but that's
enough for someone who doesn't know. It's like,
yeah. Like obviously when if people want to get into like an editor assistant job, it's like, you're going to start slowly. Like you're going to do mainly one task. And then as you go along and you have 2, 3, 5 years in the industry, you feel comfortable doing everything, and then you can multitask. You can do 3, 4, 5 tasks at the same time. It's always about experience, and the industry knows this, that if you're at a junior level or a training level, they don't expect you to know everything. They don't expect you to do everything well. So at least it's that understanding.
I was going to say, because there are 2 minutes left before this call finishes, I would suggest if you agreed to finish for today and do second part at some point. I feel like there is still stuff to talk about. I still have questions and discuss more with editing your career and YouTube and other stuff.
Yeah, for sure. If you feel like I really have something to talk about next,
definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot more that I have as experience that I can share with people that want to learn. Yeah, sure.
Sounds good.
No, it's so good, man. I really enjoyed it. Cool.
Good. Thank you. And
thank you, man. No worries. Take care, man. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to Produced By. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app, leave a review, or send us your feedback. For more information about the host, links from the episode, and ways to connect with us, visit the show notes. If you know someone who would be an ideal guest for our podcast, please get in touch. Thank you and see you soon.